Many of us have happy memories of nostalgia when it comes to the Pokemon franchise, and those who are only discovering it for the first time thanks to the Switch are sure to find this series just as enjoyable. But for a long time there have been a lot of questions about this magical and compelling world of pocket monsters that have eluded fans for a really long time, which has led to the spawning of fan theories in an attempt to answer said questions. And some of those theories are downright dark and unsettling. When you consider Nintendo's history for having their series contain darker subtext, looking at you, Legend of Zelda, it's easy to buy into some of these disconcerting theories. So today we're taking a closer look at these speculations with our list of the top 10 scary Pokemon fan theories. At number 10, Ditto is a failed clone. This theory suggests that Ditto is actually a failed clone of Mew. So for context, we all know that Mewtwo is a clone of Mew, and before Mewtwo, scientists had experimented on a slew of different Pokemon and genetic mutations in order to finally get to Mewtwo. Based on the games, we know that there were experiments prior to Mewtwo. Some fans even think that there's evidence in the anime that suggests that there were successful experiments prior as well. Now consider Ditto, a Pokemon who is bright pink, the same color as Mew, and can transform into anything, yet its main form consists of a blob. It's found on Cinnabar Island, the place where Mewtwo was created. So what are the chances that Ditto was also the product of a genetic experiment, and managed to multiply on the island after the project was abandoned? Ditto could very well be a species that self-reproduces, and based off of its appearance, it kinda looks like an experiment gone wrong. And at number 9, the real world. This one is a little wild. So in some of the Pokemon titles and Pokedex entries over the years, you may have noticed that occasionally real-world locations are mentioned. In addition to that, some cities have appeared in various regions of the Pokemon world that have shared eerie similarities to real-life locations in our world. This theory suggests that the Pokemon games take place on our world, except either in an alternate reality or as a post-apocalyptic reimagining. Now it's entirely plausible that Nintendo and Game Freak have just pulled inspiration from the real world over the years and used them in the franchise's games. The fact that places like Paris and that the word American are mentioned in certain titles imply that either these regions in the Pokemon game exist somewhere on our Earth, or that these regions are what our Earth has become. And at number 8, Cubones Mother. This one is a theory that's been kicking around for a long while. It's that Cubones Mother is actually Kangaskhan. So you know how Cubone has that skull it wears on its head? It's the skull of its dead mother. Its Pokedex entry says so, and its evolution, Marowak, is a product of being an orphan, hence why it's so tough. Some fans have speculated that Kangaskhan is actually Marowak's final evolution since the two have a very similar body type. Kangaskhan's babies that lose their mothers turn into Cubones by wearing the skull of their parent. When you look at an evolution of a Pokemon like Slowpoke, who can only evolve into Slowbro when a Shelder attaches to its tail, it seems like somewhat of a plausible explanation that this could happen. And if the Kangaskhan baby never loses its mother, it just continues to grow up into a regular Kangaskhan. And at number 7, Ash is in a coma. This one is for all of you Pokemon anime lovers out there. This theory suggests that Ash Ketchum is actually in a coma, and that all of the events of the Pokemon anime show are just in his mind. It's kind of like a Wizard of Oz effect thing that when Ash eventually comes out of the coma, he'll realize that there's a bunch of similarities of things that he imagined in this crazy Pokemon world to things that were going on in the outside world around him. And at number 6, food in Pokemon. What do people and Pokemon eat in the world of Pokemon? Other Pokemon? This is an age-old question as far as many fans are concerned. While animals are never actually really seen in the Pokemon world outside of being mentioned occasionally in the Pokedex or in sprites like the fisherman trainers, there's never really been much to go off of when it comes to what kind of foods Pokemon and people eat in that universe. The food the Pokemon eat in the games and anime are usually plant-based looking kind of stuff. We're talking berries or little balls of nuggets or whatever. Really ambiguous looking meals that could be made out of anything. But in Pokemon Gold and Silver, we learn that Team Rocket are hunting Slowpoke because their tails are a delicacy. Then there's been instances in the anime where Pokemon have been mentioned as food, like during the SS Anne crash. Ash and Brock contemplate eating a Magikarp. And later in the show it's mentioned that Farfetch'd were apparently hunted for their meat. So perhaps the Pokemon world we see is one in which humans are banned from eating Pokemon, and generally have a more plant-based diet. And some people just flat out eat Pokemon, despite it being illegal. And at 5, genetic experiments. This theory speculates that coughing and wheezing are the products of genetic experiments. How so? Well, it suggests that Team Rocket decided to genetically engineer gas particles from other existing Pokemon in order to create their own breed of Pokemon that would be for them to use and to weaponize. That's why coughing and wheezing have those chemical symbols on their bodies, as warnings for humans of their toxicity, and why it's commonly Team Rocket members who use them in Pokemon games. And at number 4, the Lavender Town Syndrome. Back in the day, there was a theory that the first 2 Pokemon games, Red and Green, in Japan, were causing child suicides in Japan due to the high frequency of the music that plays when kids are in Lavender Town. Or players, don't have to be kids, but it's the kids who are affected because, you know, their young ears hear higher frequencies. The internet quickly adopted this tale, and it's one of the most popular urban legends and creepypastas out there to date when it comes to Pokemon. Apparently, programmers had created the song for Lavender Town with such a deadly frequency that kids playing the game could not handle it. And in the North American release of the game, the music would be changed over before it came out. While there is no evidence to support that the music actually caused kids to kill themselves, there have been reports of players feeling uncomfortable and anxious when they hear the music in Lavender Town in the game. Whether or not this has any validity is questionable at best. And at number 3, dead trainers. You know how you always find items lying around on the ground in Pokemon games? Aside from it being a useful mechanic when you travel in between cities, have you ever wondered why exactly there's all this stuff just lying around? People just don't drop valuable items in the real world. There's no way something like a rare candy in the Pokemon world would just be cast aside or haphazardly dropped by accident. Now this theory aims to explain why there's so much stuff kicking around on the ground. It's because those items were dropped by now dead trainers. These items are the last remains of trainers who had an untimely end. Now when you think about how much crime there is in the Pokemon world combined with the theory about a great Pokemon war, more on that in a sec, it could be easy to see how, at various points in time, some trainers may have become casualties. And who's to say all wild Pokemon are friendly? Sure, you are a great trainer capable of catching these wild creatures in the game, but who's to say that everyone was capable or up to the task? And at number 2, death. This one is super dark. The very first Pokemon games, Red and Blue, or Red and Green if you're from Japan, introduced the concept of Pokemon death to us when we arrived in Lavender Town. The whole town is essentially a memorial site, and contains the graves of hundreds of Pokemon. But aside from this, we never really see or hear anything about Pokemon dying in the games, minus a few other Pokedex entries that pop up. We don't even know what the lifespan of Pokemon are. This is where one specific kind of Pokemon comes in. Ghost Pokemon. For example, Yamask is a 5th generation Pokemon who, according to their Pokedex entry, was once human before becoming a Pokemon, and the mask it carries around used to be its face when it was human. It looks at it and it cries sometimes. This basically implies that Yamask is a reincarnation of a human, or is a human ghost. Another Pokemon, Lampent, hangs out around hospitals waiting to steal the spirits of people who die. Yikes. Now this theory suggests that ghost-type Pokemon help regulate death in the world of Pokemon, and that Pokemon will either be the harbinger of death or also could be the reincarnated versions of spirits. Another theory suggests that the world of Pokemon is a ghost world. It's why there's similarities to the real world. Everyone is actually a spirit, and the Pokemon world is just a limbo of sorts before Pokemon and humans are reincarnated into something back in the real world. Speaking of memorial sites though, Lavender Town's mass grave helps feed into our next theory. In at number 1, the Pokemon War. Perhaps the most popular and well-known theory on our list is this one. The idea behind the Pokemon War stems from a conversation you have with Lieutenant Surge before you battle the gym leader in Vermilion City. He mentions that electric Pokemon saved his life in the war. Now take a look at the NPCs in the Pokemon games. Most are young adults or children, with the adult population primarily being women or elderly individuals. Now look at your player character in the initial titles Red and Green, or Red and Blue. Red, who you play, and your rival, Blue, neither of you have father figures. You have a mother, Blue has a sister, and an uncle in Professor Oak. All of Oak's assistants seem quite young as well. And there's a lot of kids being allowed out into the world to adventure and become Pokemon trainers. Is that because there's such a low threat of danger? Or because these young trainers are forced to become adults and step up in order to keep the world of wild Pokemon in check? This theory suggests that before the games began, there was a war. Exactly what kind of war that is, humans versus humans or humans versus Pokemon, is up in the air. But the idea is that all of the adult men were drafted into this war and died. And that could be a reasonable explanation as to why there's such a large population of kids roaming around all these regions. Many people kicked the can. The number of casualties was massive, and Lavender Town is actually a memorial to that war, and the Pokemon and their trainers who fought in it. Lieutenant Surge could very well be a war hero, and that's how he got his gym status. Same with the Elite Four members. The adult members of Team Rocket who you battle against are those who defected from going into battle or tried to run away from being drafted, and therefore were forced into a life of crime. It's also why we haven't gotten a Pokemon game that features an absolutely massive world to explore. Much of the world was devastated thanks to this world war that broke out. Some have even speculated that the war took place between humans, and nuclear bombs were dropped, which caused Pokemon to mutate and become what they are now. And all the kids having been sent out as trainers are an attempt at taming these new wild inhabitants that humans now share their world with. Another theory is that Professor Oak keeps handing out Pokedexes so that he can collect information that was previously lost in the war, figuring out which species still exist and what new mutations have appeared. Alright, there we have it friends. Which of these theories do you think are true? Give us a shout in those comments below and let us know. If you dug this video, spread the love, hit that like button, and be sure to subscribe to Top 10 Nerd for more videos just like this one. Thanks for watching guys, I'll catch you all in the next one.